In the gleaming heart of Manhattan, behind glass skyscrapers and ornate penthouses, a secret auction unfolded within the marble halls of an exclusive Upper East Side mansion. The November night wrapped the city in a cold embrace, but inside, wealth radiated warmth among the gathered elite, tech billionaires, Washington power brokers, and Wall Street titans, all drawn by an unspoken promise: access to what money shouldn't buy. Among them sat Ethan Blackwood, one of America's most prominent businessmen, a man born into legacy, known for his influence in global investments and political connections. His presence at the event was both a display of power and quiet curiosity. His features remained composed, his posture impeccable in his tailored Tom Ford suit as he observed the proceedings with calculated interest. The auction began innocently enough: rare first-edition books, paintings from private collections, exclusive access to remote islands. Ethan sipped his scotch, nodding occasionally, to familiar faces. This wasn't his first closed-door event, but something felt different tonight. The air seemed charged with an unusual tension as the auctioneer, a silver-haired man with a British accent, announced they were moving to the special catalogue. The lights dimmed. Security personnel moved to guard each exit. "Ladies and gentlemen," the auctioneer's voice dropped to a reverent whisper, "we now present our exclusive offerings." What began as a parade of rare artifacts and elite services soon revealed a darker truth. People were being offered like assets, paraded and priced. Ethan's grip tightened around his crystal tumbler. He had heard rumors about such events, but had dismissed them as urban legends spun by conspiracy theorists. Then she was brought to the stage, a young woman, barefoot, yet somehow regal in her composure, her posture still, her eyes defiant, not a victim in appearance but a symbol of resistance. She didn't cry, plead, or look away. Instead, her gaze methodically scanned the room until it locked with Ethan's. Something ancient, inexplicable awakened inside him. A tension, a pull. It wasn't attraction in the conventional sense, but recognition, as if he had seen those eyes before in a dream he couldn't quite recall. "Lot 37, announced the auctioneer. 24 years old, multilingual, educated, starting bid, $100,000. Bids began to rise. Ethan observed with mounting discomfort as numbers climbed. A tech mogul from Silicon Valley, $200,000. A hedge fund manager, $300,000. A retired senator, $500,000. The woman's eyes never left Ethan's face. They weren't pleading. They were challenging. Before logic could intervene, his hand rose. $1 million, he stated, his voice cutting through the hushed murmurs. The room fell silent. The auctioneer's gavel dropped. "Sold to Mr. Blackwood." What should have been just another spectacle turned into the unraveling of Ethan's world. Later, that evening, at his private penthouse overlooking Central Park, a fortress of glass, rare woods, and imported stone, the weight of his decision began to unfold. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing out at the Manhattan skyline as if calculating distances and escape routes. "What's your name?" Ethan asked, keeping his distance. "Maya," she answered, her voice surprisingly steady. "Maya Winters." "I don't," he began, unsure how to continue. "What does one say after purchasing a human being? I don't intend to—" "I know why men buy women at auctions," she interrupted, turning to face him fully. "So let's not pretend this is something else." Her directness caught him off guard. "Then why aren't you afraid?" A ghost of a smile crossed her face. "Mr. Blackwood, fear is a luxury I gave up long ago." She wasn't what he expected. She wasn't broken or submissive. Over the course of that night, Maya revealed fragments of a harrowing past, abducted at 16 from her small hometown in Oregon, separated from her younger sister, and trafficked through state lines like commodity. Yet through unimaginable endurance, she did more than survive. She learned, she fought, she recorded. "Along my journey, I gathered evidence," she told him, her voice dropping to a whisper even though they were alone. "Files, videos, names, transaction records. implicating some of America's most powerful figures in a vast, highly organized human trafficking network that spans all 50 states and beyond. Ethan's blood ran cold. That's impossible. Something that big couldn't stay hidden. It stays hidden because the people running it are the same ones you dine with, invest with, vote for, Maya countered. The proof exists, hidden in an abandoned mining town in Nevada near the border with Arizona. If exposed, it could bring down corporations, collapse political dynasties, and shatter the foundations of what you call American prosperity. Why tell me this? Ethan asked, pouring himself another drink to steady his nerves. Because you paid $1 million for me, she said simply, and I need to know if you overpaid or if you're the ally I've been waiting for. Before he could respond, his security system pinged with an alert. The AI assistant's voice filled the room. Sir, there's an unidentified drone hovering outside the east perimeter. Maya's expression didn't change. They're already here. Who's here? The people who don't want me talking to someone like you. She moved away from the window. You made a very public bid tonight, Mr. Blackwood, and now they know exactly where I am. The security system pinged again. Sir, there's been a breach in the building's main security protocol. The elevator override has been activated. Ethan reached for his phone to call his head of security, but Maya stopped him. They'll have compromised your communications. We need to move now. How do you know all this? He demanded. Because I've seen it happen before, she replied, moving with purpose toward his private study. Is there another way out of this apartment? Something not on the building plans? Ethan hesitated only a moment before nodding. The panic room connects to a service elevator that exits through the parking garage. As they moved toward the hidden entrance behind his bookshelf, Maya paused. Mr. Blackwood, you have about 10 seconds to decide. Are you coming with me or are you staying to explain to very dangerous people why you let me walk out of here with what I know? The security system blared again. Multiple breaches detected. Ethan Blackwood, who had spent his life calculating risks and rewards, made the quickest decision of his career. Lead the way. As the bookshelf closed behind them, sealing them in the panic room, neither knew they had just initiated a chain of events that would expose America's darkest secret and forever alter the balance of power in a nation built on the illusion of freedom. The war had only just begun. The service elevator descended with agonizing slowness. Ethan felt the weight of every floor they passed, each second bringing them closer to either escape or capture. Maya stood perfectly still beside him, her breathing controlled, eyes fixed on the changing numbers above the door. When we reach the garage, she said without looking at him, don't take your car, they'll have it flagged. Then what's your suggestion? Ethan asked, adjusting the duffel bag he had hastily packed with cash, a spare phone, and some essentials from his panic room. We need something untraceable. Her voice was calm, methodical. Something paid for in cash. The elevator doors opened to reveal the private underground garage. Ethan led Maya through rows of luxury vehicles to a modest service area where maintenance staff parked. He approached a middle-aged man in coveralls who was finishing a shift. Rodriguez, Ethan called. I need a favor. 20 minutes later, they were driving out of Manhattan in a 10-year-old Honda Civic, heading north. Maya directed him toward the George Washington Bridge, her eyes constantly scanning their surroundings. How do you know they won't track the car? Ethan asked, his hands gripping the unfamiliar steering wheel. They will, Maya replied, but not immediately. By the time they do, we'll have switched vehicles. Ethan glanced at her. You've done this before. I've been planning an escape for 7 years, she said, staring out at the passing cityscape. Not specifically with you, but I've mapped every possible route out of that city. As they crossed into New Jersey, Maya's shoulders relaxed slightly. Turn off your phone. Remove the battery if you can. Ethan complied, disabling the device that had been an extension of himself for years. The disconnection felt like losing a limb. We need to talk about what happens next, he said, as they merged onto Interstate 80 West. I have resources, connections. I can help you get this evidence to the right people. Maya turned to study his profile. Mr. Blackwood. Ethan, he corrected. Ethan, she continued. There are no right people, not anymore. The network I'm talking about includes judges, FBI directors, media executives, tech billionaires. The very system you trust to deliver justice is compromised. Not everyone, Ethan insisted. There have to be good people left. There are, Maya acknowledged, but they're not in positions of power. They're scattered, isolated, and just as hunted as I am. As nightfall enveloped the highway, Ethan's mind raced with implications. His entire worldview, built on the belief in American exceptionalism and the fundamental fairness of its systems, was crumbling with each mile they drove. "Tell me about the evidence," he finally said. "What exactly do you have?" Maya rolled down her window slightly, letting the cool night air fill the car. "It started with names, dates, locations. I memorized everything I could. Then, when I gained more mobility, I began collecting documentation, photographs, transaction records, client lists." "How?" Ethan asked. "Weren't you monitored?" "They underestimated me," she said simply. "The thing about people who see others as property is that they often forget their property has a mind." She paused, watching the headlights of passing cars. 3 years ago, I managed to connect with others like me, survivors who had escaped and gone underground. Together we formed a network gathering evidence and hiding it in secure locations across the country. "And the evidence in Nevada?" "It's the master file," Maya explained. "Everything consolidated. Names, dates, financial transactions, video testimony from survivors, and most importantly, the ghost list." "The ghost list?" 43 high-profile Americans who aren't just clients of the network, but its architects. CEOs, senators, governors, media figures, people whose faces are on magazines and billboards. Ethan's throat tightened. "Names I would recognize?" "Names everyone recognizes," Maya confirmed. "People Americans trust to protect them, inform them, lead them." She turned to face him fully. "That's why I needed someone like you, Ethan. Someone with enough wealth and influence to be taken seriously, but who isn't on that list." "How can you be sure I'm not?" he challenged. For the first time, Maya smiled, a brief, unexpected flash. "Because I memorized every name on that list, recited them like a prayer every night so I wouldn't forget. Your name isn't among them." They stopped at a 24-hour diner just off the highway in Pennsylvania. The fluorescent lights and smell of coffee created a surreal normalcy as they sat in a corner booth, away from windows. "We should reach Ohio by morning," Maya said, studying a map on a paper placemat. "I have a contact there who can help us with new identification." Ethan watched her methodically plan their route, marveling at her composure. "Who were you before all this?" Something flickered across her face, a brief vulnerability quickly masked. "I was a high school junior in Portland, captain of the debate team. I wanted to be a lawyer." She traced a line on the map with her finger. "I had a sister, Emma. She was 14 when they took me." "What happened to her?" "She's safe," Maya said with certainty. "Our parents moved her to Canada afterward, changed their names. I made sure the network couldn't find them." Ethan nodded, respecting her need for privacy. "My story isn't nearly as interesting. Born wealthy, stayed wealthy. The American dream on autopilot." "And yet you just walked away from it all," Maya observed. "Why?" Before he could answer, the diner's television caught his attention. A breaking news banner scrolled across the bottom of the screen. His own face appeared alongside the headline, "Billionaire Ethan Blackwood sought for questioning in kidnapping case." Maya's expression remained unchanged. "That was faster than I expected." The news anchor's voice carried across the quiet. "Diner, sources close to the investigation claim that Blackwood abducted a woman from a charity event in Manhattan last night. The woman, whose identity has not been released, is believed to be in danger. Authorities are asking for the public's help in locating them." Ethan stared at the screen in disbelief. "They're painting me as the kidnapper." "Of course they are," Maya replied calmly. "It's the perfect cover story. They control the narrative, turn the public against you, and ensure that even if you try to come forward with what you know, no one will believe you." Their waitress approached, glancing between them and the television. "Ain't that you, mister?" Ethan froze, but Maya smoothly intervened. "He gets that all the time," she said with a light laugh. "My husband and that billionaire could be twins. Makes traveling interesting, let me tell you." The waitress smiled uncertainly. "Well, you're better looking than the guy on TV anyway," she told Ethan before moving to another table. "We need to go," Maya whispered. "Now." As they left money on the table and headed for the exit, Ethan caught a glimpse of another patron watching them intently, phone in hand. They abandoned the Honda in the diner parking lot, borrowing an old pickup truck with the keys conveniently left in the visor. As they drove away, Ethan watched the diner shrink in the rearview mirror. "How long before my face is everywhere?" he asked. "By morning," Maya answered, "but we'll be someone else by then." Ethan accelerated onto the highway, the reality of his situation sinking in. "I had a board meeting tomorrow, quarterly earnings report. Dinner with the governor next week. And now you're America's most wanted kidnapper," Maya said. "Welcome to my world, Ethan Blackwood." As the miles disappeared beneath their wheels, Ethan realized the truth in her words. His old life, the boardrooms, the galas, the political connections was evaporating like morning. In its place was this strange new reality, a stolen truck, a woman with dangerous knowledge, and a mission that seemed impossible. Yet somehow, speeding through the Pennsylvania night with Maya Winters beside him, Ethan felt more alive than he had in years. The empire he'd built suddenly seemed hollow, compared to the raw authenticity of fighting for something real. "They'll freeze your accounts by morning," Maya warned. "How much cash do you have?" "About 50,000 in the bag," Ethan replied. "Emergency funds from the panic room." Maya nodded. "It'll have to do. When we reach Cleveland, I know someone who can help us disappear." As dawn broke on the horizon, casting golden light across the Ohio landscape, Ethan Blackwood, former titan of industry, now fugitive, realized there was no turning back. The world he'd known was behind him. Ahead lay uncertainty, danger, and a truth too explosive to imagine. And beside him sat Maya, her eyes fixed on the road ahead, a living embodiment of resilience and purpose. Whatever came next, he knew with absolute certainty. They were in this together. Cleveland greeted them with sheets of cold rain and a steely grey sky that mirrored Ethan's mood. They abandoned the pickup truck in a shopping mall parking lot and took a city bus downtown, heads down, hoods up. Maya navigated the unfamiliar city with surprising confidence, leading Ethan through a maze of side streets, until they reached a nondescript brick building, wedged between a laundromat and a pawn shop. "This is it?" Ethan asked, skepticism evident in his voice. Maya's only response was a brief nod as she pressed a buzzer marked "Repairs" 3 times in quick succession, then twice more slowly. The door clicked open to reveal a narrow staircase. At the top, they entered a loft space filled with computers, printers, and specialized equipment Ethan couldn't identify. A slim woman with electric blue hair and arms covered in tattoos looked up from a workstation. "Holy shit," she said, eyes widening at the sight of them. "You actually did it." Maya stepped forward. "Ethan, this is Riley Jensen, former NSA cybersecurity specialist and the best identity artist on this side of the Mississippi." Riley nodded at Ethan, her expression shifting from surprise to calculated assessment. "You're all over the news, Blackwood. They're calling you a dangerous obsessive who stalked and abducted Maya from some charity gala." "I'm aware," Ethan replied dryly. "Your assets are frozen," Riley continued, turning to a monitor. "Your board of directors has called an emergency meeting, and there's a nationwide alert out for both of you." She whistled low. "They really want you silenced." "Can you help us?" Maya asked, cutting to the chase. Riley's serious expression melted into a grin. "For the woman who saved my life, anything." She gestured to a door on the far side of the loft. "Get cleaned up. I need pictures for your new IDs, and right now you both look like drowned rats." While Maya showered, Ethan studied the operations center Riley had built. Multiple screens displayed news feeds, social media monitoring, and what appeared to be law enforcement communications. It was impressive and deeply illegal. "How do you know Maya?" he asked quietly. Riley's fingers continued typing at remarkable speed. We were in the same collection for a while. High-value merchandise, they called us. I was taken for my technical skills. Maya for her. She hesitated. Well, you've met her. The girl's got something special. And she helped you escape? Riley nodded. Created a diversion that gave me just enough time to slip away. Cost her too. 3 weeks in isolation as punishment. She fixed Ethan with a penetrating stare. So when she reached out through our network saying she needed help, I didn't ask questions. I just said when and where. There are more of you. An organized network. We call ourselves the Ghosts, Riley explained. Survivors who dropped off the grid, using our skills to help others escape and gather evidence against the bastards who run the operation. The bathroom door opened, and Maya emerged in clean clothes Riley had provided, jeans, a flannel shirt, and a worn leather jacket. With her face scrubbed clean and her hair pulled back, she looked younger, more vulnerable, but no less determined. Your turn, she told Ethan, tossing him a towel. When Ethan returned, freshly showered and wearing donated clothes that fit poorly, on his tall frame, Riley and Maya were hunched over a screen, deep in conversation. There's a problem, Maya said without preamble. Our contact in Nevada has gone dark. What does that mean for the evidence? Ethan asked. It means we need to move faster, Riley interjected, spinning in her chair to face a printer that was producing what looked like driver's licenses. These will get you through basic checkpoints, but they won't hold up to serious scrutiny. She handed them each an ID. Meet James and Sarah Wilson, married insurance adjusters from Michigan. She tossed a set of car keys to Ethan. Take my backup vehicle. It's registered to a shell company in Idaho. Should buy you some time. As Riley gathered additional supplies for their journey, Ethan studied the new license in his hand. James Wilson looked back at him. Same face, different name, different life. Are you ready for this? Maya asked quietly, standing close enough that only he could hear. Once we leave here, there's no going back. Your old life is gone, Ethan, and I can't promise what's waiting at the end of this road. Before he could answer, one of Riley's monitors pinged loudly. A red alert flashed across the screen. Someone's accessing your private server, Ethan, Riley called, fingers flying across her keyboard. They're digging into your files, emails, everything. Ethan moved quickly to her side. Who? Tracing now, Riley muttered. Wait, this can't be right. She looked up at him, confusion evident. It's coming from your corporate headquarters. Someone inside Blackwood Enterprises is digging up dirt on you. Harrison, Ethan said, his face hardening. My COO. He's been gunning for my position for years. Another monitor flashed with breaking news. A press conference was starting. The camera focused on James Harrison, Blackwood Enterprises' Chief Operating Officer, standing at a podium surrounded by reporters. In light of the disturbing allegations against Ethan Blackwood, Harrison was saying, his expression carefully composed into one of grave concern. The board has appointed me acting CEO effective immediately. We are cooperating fully with authorities to locate Mr. Blackwood and the young woman he has taken. Harrison's face filled the screen, the perfect picture of corporate responsibility. We want to assure our shareholders and the public that Blackwood Enterprises remains stable and committed to the values of integrity and transparency that have always been our foundation. Ethan's fists clenched at his sides. Lying bastard, he knows exactly what's happening. Is he on the ghost list? Riley asked Maya. Maya shook her head. No, but that doesn't mean he's not involved. The network has thousands of facilitators who never actually touch the merchandise. Ethan winced at the clinical term. He's been traveling to the same leadership retreats with Senator Chambers for years, always comes back with new connections, new clients. Chambers, Maya and Riley said in unison, exchanging a knowing look. What? Ethan demanded. Senator William Chambers is number 2 on the ghost list, Maya explained, right below Supreme Court Justice Lawrence Palmer. The weight of this revelation hit Ethan like a physical blow. A Supreme Court justice, a senior senator. These weren't just powerful men, they were institutional pillars of American democracy. This is bigger than I imagined, he said quietly. Now you understand what we're up against, Maya replied. It's not just a criminal enterprise, it's woven into the fabric of America itself. Riley interrupted, shoving backpacks into their hands. You need to move. I've picked up chatter on police bands. Someone reported seeing people matching your description at a bus stop 3 blocks from here. They hurried down to the alley, where an inconspicuous blue Subaru waited. Riley hugged Maya tightly. Stay alive, ghost girl. You too, Blue, Maya whispered back. Purge your systems after we leave. They'll be tracking us. Riley nodded solemnly. May the odds be ever in your favor, she said with a wry smile, then turned to Ethan. Keep her safe, Blackwood. She's the most important person in America right now. As they drove away, Ethan navigated through Cleveland's back streets, following Riley's pre-programmed GPS toward Interstate 80 West. Nevada's still a long way off, he observed. And now we know your contact there might be compromised. Maya stared out the window, her reflection ghostly in the glass. We have a backup plan. Always have a backup plan. Care to share it with your new partner? Ethan asked. Maya turned to him, studying his face as if searching for something. There's a Navajo reservation that spans the Arizona-New Mexico border. A woman there, Lily Begay, runs a youth shelter that doubles as a safe house for trafficking survivors. She guards a backup copy of everything. Can we trust her? With our lives, Maya said with certainty. She's lost 2 daughters to the network. She's been fighting this war longer than either of us. As they merged onto the interstate, a news alert came over the car radio. Maya reached to turn up the volume. Breaking news in the Blackwood kidnapping case, the announcer said. Police have surrounded a building in downtown Cleveland where the fugitives were reportedly spotted. We go live to our correspondent at the scene. They listened in tense silence as the reporter described a police standoff at Riley's building. SWAT teams were positioning around the exits. Turn it off, Maya said, her voice tight with emotion. Ethan complied, the silence in the car suddenly deafening. She'll be okay, he said, not quite believing it himself. She seems like she knows what she's doing. She knew the risks, Maya replied, her professional composure momentarily cracking. We all do. Night fell as they crossed into Indiana, the highway stretching before them like an endless black ribbon. They took turns driving, stopping only for gas and necessities. When exhaustion finally forced them to rest, they found a small motel off the highway, paying cash for a room with a single queen bed. I'll take the floor, Ethan offered as they entered the sparse room. Maya shook her head. We both need proper rest. I trust you, Ethan. Those simple words, I trust you, carried a weight Ethan wasn't prepared for. After everything she'd been through, trust was perhaps the most valuable currency Maya possessed. They lay side by side on the bed, a respectful distance between them, both staring at the water-stained ceiling. Do you ever wonder what your life would have been if they hadn't taken you? Ethan asked into the darkness. Maya was quiet for so long he thought she might have fallen asleep. Sometimes, she finally answered, but that girl from Portland doesn't exist anymore. Wondering about her life feels like reading a novel about a stranger. Ethan turned to look at her profile in the dim light filtering through cheap curtains. And what about after? Do you think about what comes next if we succeed? Maya continued, staring upward. There is no after for me, Ethan. Once the ghost list is exposed, I'll spend years testifying, identifying, rebuilding. The network will scatter but not disappear. Some will escape justice, others will rebrand. The war doesn't end with one battle. Her pragmatism was both admirable and heartbreaking. Ethan had never met anyone so clear-eyed about the harsh realities of the world. Get some sleep, Maya said, turning away from him. Tomorrow will be challenging. As Ethan drifted towards sleep, his phone, the burner Riley had given him, vibrated. Once, a text message from an unknown number. Blue is flying, ghosts never die. He showed the message to Maya, who smiled faintly. She got away. Riley always has an escape plan. With that small victory warming the cold room, they fell asleep. 2 strangers bound by circumstance and an impossible mission, racing across America toward a truth that could either save or destroy them both. The Navajo Nation welcomed them. With vast red landscapes and skies so wide, they made Ethan feel insignificant. After 5 days of constant movement, changing vehicles 3 times, sleeping in shifts, and eating at roadside diners where they could blend with tourists, they finally approached their destination. The small community near the Arizona-New Mexico border appeared as a cluster of buildings shimmering in the desert heat. There, Maya pointed to a low adobe-style structure set apart from the main settlement, Lily's shelter. As they pulled up to the building, a tall woman with silver-streaked black hair emerged. She stood motionless, watching their approach with caution that softened to recognition when Maya stepped out of the car. "Little ghost," the woman said, her deep voice carrying across the dusty yard. "You made it." Maya embraced Lily Begay with a familiarity that surprised Ethan. In their journey, he had come to see Maya as someone who maintained careful boundaries, yet here she melted into the older woman's arms like a child coming home. Lily's sharp eyes assessed Ethan over Maya's shoulder. "And you brought a billionaire. Interesting choice." "Former billionaire," Ethan corrected with a rueful smile, extending his hand. "Ethan Blackwood." "I know who you are," Lily replied, accepting his handshake with a firm grip. "The question is whether you know what you've walked into." Inside the shelter, children's artwork decorated walls that had clearly been built for security, reinforced doors, windows with subtle but effective protective measures. A few teenagers moved through the common areas, helping with chores or studying at tables. All had the watchful eyes of those who had seen too much. Lily led them to a private office at the back of the building. Once the door closed, her demeanor shifted from community leader to resistance commander. "Nevada's been compromised," she said without preamble. "Martin was taken 3 days ago. No one has heard from him since." Maya's composure faltered slightly. "What about the evidence?" "Secured," Lily confirmed, moving to a painting on the wall. A desert landscape rendered in vibrant colors. She swung it aside to reveal a safe, which she opened with practiced efficiency. Martin followed protocol. When he suspected surveillance, he moved everything to the backup location. From the safe, she withdrew a small metal case and placed it on her desk. Inside lay 5 identical flash drives. "The ghost list," Maya whispered almost reverently, "and all the supporting evidence." Ethan stared at the unassuming devices. "That's it? That's what we've been risking our lives for?" "Those 5 drives contain enough information to bring down half the power structure in America," Lily said, closing the case. "Names, dates, financial transactions, victim testimonies, video evidence, all meticulously gathered and cross-referenced over 7 years. Maya reached for one of the drives, turning it over in her hand. "We need to make this public. All of it." Lily's expression grew troubled. "It's not that simple anymore. They know we have this. They know what's on it. And they're offering a deal." Ethan and Maya exchanged alarmed glances. "What kind of deal?" Ethan asked. Lily accessed her computer, opening an encrypted email. "This came through our secure channel yesterday. It's addressed to you, Maya." On the screen, a message displayed in simple text. "Ms. Winters, your persistence is admirable, but ultimately futile. The evidence you've gathered, while impressive, will be discredited before it reaches the public consciousness. Your witnesses will be silenced. Your data will be declared fraudulent. Your allies will be eliminated. However, we are prepared to offer an alternative solution. Return all copies of the files. Cease all activities against our organization. In exchange, we guarantee your safety, a new identity of your choosing, and financial compensation of $50 million. Mr. Blackwood will be permitted to return to his position with minimal repercussions, the allegations against him quietly retracted. Consider carefully. You cannot win this war. The institutions you seek to expose are the bedrock of this nation. Attacking them does not serve justice. It creates chaos. You have 48 hours to respond. An associate will contact you with details for the exchange. Justice Lawrence Palmer." The message was signed with the name of the Supreme Court Justice that Maya had identified as the top name on the ghost list. Ethan felt a chill run through him. They found us. They always knew where to look, Lily corrected. The question was never if they would find us, but when, and what we would do when they did. Maya set the flash drive down with deliberate care. They're scared, she said, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. $50 million is desperation, not confidence. Or it's a trap, Ethan countered, pacing the small office. Get us to agree to a meeting, then eliminate all of us at once. Lily nodded gravely. Likely both. They're desperate enough to pay, but they'd prefer to silence us permanently. A soft knock interrupted them. One of the teenage residents, a girl with solemn eyes, stood at the door. Ms. Begay, there's a news report you should see, she said quietly. In the shelter's common room, residents had gathered around a television. Breaking news banners flashed across the screen as a reporter stood outside Blackwood Enterprises headquarters in New York. James Harrison, acting CEO of Blackwood Enterprises, has announced startling new evidence in the ongoing search for Ethan. Blackwood and his alleged victim, the reporter explained. According to company officials, forensic examination of Blackwood's private servers revealed disturbing materials suggesting a long-term obsession with human trafficking victims. The camera cut to Harrison at a press conference, his expression a perfect mask of grave concern. What we've discovered has been turned over to federal authorities, he stated smoothly. It appears Mr. Blackwood's erratic behavior was not a sudden break, but the culmination of deeply troubling patterns that went unnoticed for too long. We are cooperating fully with the FBI's expanded investigation. Maya's face remained impassive, but Ethan could see the tension in her shoulders. They're planting evidence, she said, creating a narrative that no one will question. And it's working, Lily added, gesturing to the screen where social media reactions were being displayed. A flood of outrage directed at Ethan, calls for his immediate apprehension. Ethan watched his reputation, his life's work, his very identity being systematically dismantled. The sensation was oddly liberating. They've taken everything from me, he said quietly. Now I have nothing left to lose. Maya's eyes met his, understanding passing between them. That's when you become truly dangerous to them. Lily turned off the television. You can't stay here long, they'll have eyes on the reservation by now. She retrieved the metal case from her office. There's a journalist in Phoenix, Sofia Rodriguez. She's been investigating trafficking networks for years, focusing on cases that cross the border. She has the contacts and credibility to break this story properly. Can we trust her? Ethan asked. As much as anyone, Lily replied. She lost her sister to the network 15 years ago, never stopped looking, never stopped asking questions. Maya took the case, securing it in her backpack. We'll need transportation that can't be traced. And a way to contact Rodriguez securely, Ethan added. Lily smiled. For the first time since their arrival. I think I can help with both. An hour later, as the desert sun began its descent toward the horizon, they stood beside an old but well-maintained Jeep Wrangler. Its registration tied to a local community organization, the vehicle would attract little attention in the southwest. The back roads will take you to Interstate 17, Lily explained, spreading a paper map on the hood. From there, you're 4 hours from Phoenix. Rodriguez will meet you at this address. She circled a location on the outskirts of the city. As they prepared to leave, Lily pulled Maya aside for a private conversation. Ethan busied himself loading supplies into the Jeep, respecting their moment. When Maya returned, her expression was more resolved than ever. Ready? He asked. Maya nodded, climbing into the passenger seat. Lily's given us a satellite phone to contact Rodriguez. It's as secure as we can get right now. They drove away. From the shelter, following dirt roads that wound through the stark beauty of the reservation. In the rearview mirror, Ethan watched Lily's figure grow smaller until she disappeared behind a rise. She saved your life once, didn't she? He asked. Maya gazed out at the passing landscape. More than once. Lily was running an underground railroad for trafficking victims before most people acknowledged the problem existed in America. The sun set as they drove, painting the desert in shades of gold and crimson before surrendering to the purple shadows of twilight. Stars appeared in a sky untainted by city lights, more than Ethan had ever seen. "It's beautiful here," he observed. "Peaceful." "Don't let it fool you," Maya replied. "This land has seen as much violence and suffering as any city. It just wears its scars differently." They traveled in companionable silence until the distant glow of Phoenix appeared on the horizon. Maya used the satellite phone to confirm their meeting with Rodriguez, then directed Ethan toward an industrial area on the city's edge. The warehouse appeared abandoned, its corrugated metal walls rusted and tagged with graffiti. They parked behind the building, approaching cautiously. At the side entrance, Maya knocked in a specific pattern: 3 quick, 2 slow, 3 quick again. The door opened to reveal a woman in her 40s with sharp, intelligent eyes and a notebook in hand. "You must be the ghosts," she said, her voice carrying a hint of a Texas accent. "Come in quickly." Inside, the warehouse had been converted into a makeshift newsroom. Boards covered in photographs, documents, and maps lined the walls. Computer stations hummed with activity, staffed by a small team of focused individuals. "Welcome to the Phoenix Independent Investigation Unit," Sofia Rodriguez said, leading them to a conference area. "Or as the FBI calls us, those paranoid conspiracy journalists." She gestured for them to sit. "I've been following your case, Mr. Blackwood. Fascinating how quickly you transformed from America's golden boy to its most wanted predator." "The network is efficient," Maya commented. Rodriguez nodded. "That they are. Now, Lily said you have something that makes my 15 years of investigation look like a high school research project." Maya placed the metal case on the table, opening it to reveal the 5 flash drives. "We call it the Ghost List." For the next hour, they showed Rodriguez selected portions of the evidence, enough to prove its authenticity without overwhelming her with details. Her professional demeanor cracked only once when Maya displayed a spreadsheet tracking victims across state lines. "My sister's name would be on here," she said quietly. "Somewhere. Probably," Maya acknowledged. "The network's records go back nearly 30 years. Rodriguez closed her laptop, collecting herself. "Publishing this will be the most dangerous thing I've ever done. The fallout will be nuclear." "That's why we came to you," Ethan explained. "You understand what's at stake, you know how to protect sources, and you have the platform to make sure this can't be buried." "We'll need to move fast," Rodriguez decided. "Once we start publishing, they'll come at us with everything they have: legal injunctions, character assassination, physical threats. They're already offering deals," Maya informed her, showing the email from Justice Palmer. $50 million to walk away." Rodriguez gave a low whistle. "That's serious money. Tells me they're truly frightened." She stood, calling her team together. "We publish in 48 hours, full digital release across multiple platforms simultaneously. We'll need international partners to ensure it can't be completely suppressed." As Rodriguez's team sprang into action, Ethan and Maya were shown to a small room with cots where they could rest. The space was sparse but secure, with no windows and multiple locked doors between them and the outside world. Maya sat cross-legged on her cot, watching Ethan pace the confined space. "Having second thoughts?" she asked. Ethan paused, considering the question seriously. "No," he finally answered, "but I'm thinking about what comes after. The world we're about to create by releasing this information, it will be chaos initially. Institutions will be delegitimized. People will lose faith in their leaders, their courts, their media." "Some of those institutions deserve to be delegitimized," Maya pointed out. "Agreed. But the vacuum we create, it can be filled by something better or something worse." He sat down opposite her. "I've been thinking about what you said about there being no after for you, that your work continues. I want to be part of that." Maya studied him with surprise. "You want to keep fighting this fight, even after?" "The Ghost List is public, especially then," Ethan insisted. "I built companies, Maya. I know how to create systems, mobilize resources, effect change on a large scale. What if we used those skills not just to expose the network, but to dismantle it completely and build something better in its place?" For The first time since he'd met her, Maya appeared genuinely taken aback. "You're talking about a lifetime commitment." "I am," he confirmed. "My old life is gone either way. This mission, it's given me purpose I never knew I needed. It's shown me the real world beyond my privileged bubble." The satellite phone rang before Maya could respond. She answered cautiously, listening for a moment before her expression changed to alarm. "We need to move," she said, ending the call. "Now." That was Lily. "The reservation was raided 20 minutes ago by what looked like federal agents. She got away, but they're coming for us." They rushed from the room, finding Rodriguez already mobilizing her team. "We have a breach protocol," she assured them, as staff hurriedly backed up files and wiped computers. "My people know where to regroup." "The evidence," Maya insisted. "We need to secure it." Rodriguez handed her a new bag containing the flash drives. "I've made copies. My team is already distributing them to our international partners. Even if they stop us here, the story will break." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. "There's a garage beneath the building," Rodriguez directed them, pressing keys into Ethan's hand. "Black sedan, fake plates. Take the service tunnel. It exits 2 blocks away." As they prepared to run once more, Rodriguez caught Maya's arm. "No matter what happens, we will publish. I promise you that." Maya nodded, emotion briefly cracking through her composed exterior. "Thank you." They descended to the garage, finding the sedan exactly where Rodriguez had indicated. As Ethan started, the engine, the building's emergency lights began flashing. "They're here," Maya observed calmly, checking the contents of their new bag. Ethan steered the car into the narrow service tunnel. "Where do we go now?" Maya's face, illuminated by the tunnel's emergency lighting, showed a determination that bordered on ferocity. "We finish this, on our terms." As they emerged onto a quiet side street, leaving the sounds of the raid behind them, Ethan realized Maya had made her decision about his offer. They were partners now, bound by something stronger than circumstance. The war against the network had become their shared mission, not just to expose the ghost list, but to ensure justice followed exposure. The road ahead remained dangerous and uncertain, but for the first time since this journey began, Ethan felt they were no longer just running from something. They were running toward something, together. 48 hours. That was all they needed to hold out until Rodriguez's team published the ghost list. 48 hours of staying alive, staying hidden, and staying ahead of the most powerful people in America. Ethan drove through the night, taking random turns through the Phoenix suburbs before heading east into the desert. Maya remained vigilant beside him, checking the satellite phone periodically for updates from Rodriguez's team. "We need a place to lay low," Ethan said as dawn broke over the eastern horizon. "Somewhere they wouldn't think to look for us." Maya considered their options. "I might know a place. Head towards Sedona." 3 hours later, they arrived at a modest eco-retreat nestled among the famous red rocks. Solar panels glinted on rooftops, and a small greenhouse stood at the property's edge. A man in his 60s with weathered skin and kind eyes greeted them at the entrance. "Michael," Maya said with evident relief, "thank you for taking us in." "Any friend of Emma's is welcome here," he replied cryptically, leading them to a small cabin hidden behind the main buildings. Once they were settled, Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Emma? Your sister?" Maya nodded. "Michael was our neighbor in Portland. After I was taken, he helped my family relocate to Canada. He's been part of the underground network ever since. I run this place as a healing center. For survivors," Michael explained, setting down a tray with food and tea. "Most of my guests are young people recovering from trafficking situations. The authorities know about us, but they leave us alone. Officially, we're just a wellness retreat." Michael's calm presence and the sanctuary he had created provided their first real moment of peace since fleeing New York. As they sat on the cabin's small porch that evening, watching the famous Sedona sunset paint the rocks in impossible shades of crimson and gold, Ethan felt a strange sense of clarity. "I keep thinking about that auction," he said quietly. "How I'd heard rumors, but dismissed them as conspiracy theories. How many times I looked away from signs that might have led me to the truth years ago. Maya sipped her tea, her profile gilded by the setting sun. The network thrives on disbelief, on the unwillingness of good people to accept that such evil could exist within their institutions. And on the complicity of people like me, Ethan added, who benefit from those institutions without questioning them. Yet here you are, Maya observed, risking everything to expose them. Because of you, he said simply. You could have used my bid at that auction as a chance to escape alone. Instead, you brought me into your fight. Maya turned to face him fully. I needed someone with your resources, your connections. Is that all? Ethan asked, holding her gaze. For once, Maya seemed uncertain, vulnerability briefly replacing her usual composure. Whatever she might have said was interrupted by the cabin door opening as Michael emerged. You should see this, he said gravely, leading them to the retreat's common room, where a television played the evening news. Breaking news banners announced a major development in the Blackwood case. The screen showed James Harrison at another press conference, looking appropriately solemn. It is with deep regret that I must inform the public of disturbing new evidence in the investigation of Ethan Blackwood, Harrison announced. Documents recovered from Mr. Blackwood's private server suggest his involvement in an international human trafficking operation dating back several years. The camera panned to show FBI agents carrying boxes from Blackwood Enterprises headquarters. Federal authorities have expanded their investigation to include potential accomplices within and outside the company, Harrison continued. We are shocked and appalled by these revelations, and Blackwood Enterprises pledges complete transparency as we work to understand how our resources may have been misused. A new face appeared on screen, Senator William Chambers, the second name on the ghost list, now positioned as a crusading hero. This case represents a horrifying breach of trust, the senator declared, righteous indignation perfected after years in politics. I am calling for a special congressional investigation into human trafficking networks that prey on vulnerable Americans. Mr. Blackwood's actions may represent just the tip of an iceberg of exploitation that has gone undetected for too long. Ethan laughed bitterly. Masterful. They're using me as a scapegoat while positioning themselves as the solution to the very problem they created. It's their standard playbook, Maya said. Create a villain to distract from their own culpability. The satellite phone rang. Maya answered, listening intently before her expression shifted from alertness to shock. What is it? Ethan asked when she ended the call. Rodriguez's warehouse was completely destroyed in a fire last night, Maya reported, her voice carefully controlled. 3 of her team didn't make it out. Michael bowed his head momentarily. Were the files compromised? No, Maya said. Rodriguez managed to distribute copies to partners in Europe and Asia before the raid. The story is still set to break tomorrow morning. The magnitude of what was happening, what they had set in motion, settled over them like a physical weight. People had lost their lives. More lives would be disrupted when the truth emerged. The institutions Americans trusted would be revealed as corrupted to their core. We should rest while we can, Michael suggested gently. Tomorrow will change everything. Sleep proved elusive for Ethan. He lay awake in the small cabin, listening to the desert night sounds and the steady rhythm of Maya's breathing from the other bed. Around 3 in the morning, he noticed she was awake too, staring at the ceiling. What happens to you after tomorrow? He asked softly. When your mission is accomplished? Maya turned toward his voice in the darkness. The ghost list is just the beginning. Exposing the truth doesn't automatically create justice. There will be trials, testimonies, systems to rebuild. And your sister, will you find her? A long pause followed. I've always known where Emma is, Maya finally admitted. I stay away to protect her. As long as I'm fighting the network, anyone connected to me is in danger. The revelation of this additional sacrifice, keeping herself from the one person she loved most, struck Ethan deeply. You've given up everything for this fight. Not everything, Maya replied softly. I still have my purpose, my freedom, hard-won as it is. And now, unexpected allies. The moment between them stretched, filled with unspoken understanding. They had moved beyond being fugitives thrown together by circumstance. They were partners, bound by a shared mission and growing trust that neither had anticipated. Dawn arrived with a knock at their door. Michael stood outside, tension evident in his normally calm demeanor. "You need to see this," he said, leading them once more to the common room. Every screen showed the same breaking news. Ghost list exposed. America's elite implicated in trafficking. Network. Rodriguez's team had published everything. The complete ghost list with all 43 names, supporting documentation, victim testimonies, financial records, and a comprehensive timeline of the network's operations spanning 3 decades. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded. News anchors struggled to maintain composure while reporting on colleagues and bosses named in the files. Political figures issued denials. Financial markets plummeted as corporations connected to listed individuals faced instant scrutiny. "It's happening," Maya whispered, watching the chaos unfold on screen after screen. "After all these years, it's finally happening." The satellite phone rang again, Rodriguez calling from a secure location. "We've done it," she told Maya. "Every major news outlet in the world is covering the story. They can't put this genie back in the bottle." "What about your team?" Maya asked. "The ones who didn't make it out?" "They knew the risks," Rodriguez replied, grief evident in her voice. "Their names will be remembered when the full story is told." She paused. "But you two aren't safe yet. They'll be desperate now, looking for someone to blame. You need to go public with your story before they can silence you." After ending the call, Maya turned to Ethan, her expression resolute. "She's right. We need to control the narrative now, tell our side before they can spin it further." "How?" Ethan asked. "Every law enforcement agency in the country is looking for us." "Not every agency," Michael interjected. "I have a contact in the Arizona Attorney General's office, someone who's been quietly investigating trafficking cases for years, someone we can trust." 6 hours later, Ethan and Maya sat in the office of Assistant Attorney General Rebecca Torres, surrounded by state police officers who had escorted them safely from Sedona. On the desk between them lay all 5 flash drives containing the ghost list and supporting evidence. "This is the most explosive case I've ever seen," Torres admitted, looking up from her computer screen after reviewing a fraction of the files. "The implications are staggering. Will you help us?" Maya asked directly. Torres nodded without hesitation. "I'll arrange for protective custody and work with federal prosecutors we can trust, ones not compromised by connections to the list. You'll both need to give extensive statements." As they began the process of formal testimony, news continued to break across the country. 3 individuals named on the ghost list had been taken into custody. Justice Palmer had announced his immediate resignation from the Supreme Court. Senator Chambers was nowhere to be found, his private jet having departed for a non-extradition country hours before the story broke. By evening, the Attorney General of the United States had announced the formation of a special task force to investigate all allegations contained in the ghost list files. Meanwhile, survivors identified in the documents were coming forward, their testimonies corroborating the evidence Maya had gathered. In the temporary security of the Attorney General's offices, Maya watched the unfolding coverage with an expression Ethan couldn't quite read, not quite triumph, not quite relief, but something more complex. "Is it what you hoped for?" he asked, joining her by the window overlooking Phoenix. "It's just the beginning," she replied. "The network will regroup. Some will escape justice. New operations will form to replace the old ones." She turned to face him. "But yes, it's what I hoped for. The truth is out there now. No one can pretend not to see it anymore." "What about you?" Ethan asked. "What happens to Maya Winters now?" For the first time since he'd known her, Maya smiled fully, a genuine expression that transformed her face and revealed the young woman she might have been, without the weight of her mission. "I think it might be time for Maya Winters to find her sister," she said softly. "After I finish testifying." "I'd like to meet her someday," Ethan ventured. "Emma." Maya studied him with newfound openness. "I think she'd like to meet the man who helped bring down the network." She hesitated. if that man plans to stick around. I meant what I said at the warehouse, Ethan assured her. I'm in this for the long haul, building something better to replace what we've exposed. That's work I want to be part of. It won't be easy, Maya cautioned. Your reputation, your fortune are small prices to pay for the truth, Ethan finished. I've learned that from you. As night fell over Phoenix, news alerts continued to ping on the officers' phones. More arrests, more revelations, more survivors coming forward. The world they had known was transforming hour by hour, its darkest secrets dragged into the light. Whatever came next, trials, testimonies, the long work of rebuilding broken systems, they would face it together. Not as victim and savior, not as fugitives thrown together by circumstance, but as equal partners in a cause that had become larger than either of them. 6 months later, a small gathering took place on a secluded Canadian property near Vancouver. Under the shelter of ancient cedars, Maya embraced her sister for the first time in 8 years. Emma, now a college student with their mother's smile and their father's determination, held her sister as if afraid she might disappear again. Ethan watched from a respectful distance, giving the reunited family their moment. He had used what remained of his resources to establish the Phoenix Foundation, an organization dedicated to supporting trafficking survivors and funding investigations into networks that continued to operate in the shadows. Maya served as its director, her first-hand knowledge and strategic mind proving invaluable in the ongoing fight. The ghost list revelations had indeed changed America, though not without cost. Institutions had been shaken, public trust had fractured. The process of accountability and healing would take years, perhaps generations. But as Ethan observed Maya with her family, saw her laughing freely for the first time, he understood with perfect clarity what she had taught him from the beginning. The truth costs. It costs comfort, certainty, and sometimes even lives. But the price of silence is infinitely higher. As Maya caught his eye across the garden, her smile acknowledging the journey that had brought them here, Ethan knew they had both paid that price willingly. And somehow, against all odds, they had found something precious in return, a purpose worth fighting for, and people worth fighting alongside. The war continued, but now they were no longer fighting alone. Film da Historia. If this story of courage and truth moved you, we've prepared a special playlist featuring equally compelling narratives about resilience and justice. Find it by clicking on the link to your left. If you enjoyed Maya and Ethan's journey, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Every day, we bring you unique stories that explore the complexity of life and the power of human determination. What moment in the story resonated with you most? What would you have done in Ethan's position? Join the conversation in the comments below. We can't wait to hear your thoughts.